Hey guys, Poro here with another breakdown, this time for BLG, the second seed from the LPL. The core of this BLG roster has been representing the LPL at international events for the past 4 splits, starting in MSI 2023, and has become a mainstay for being title contenders. For those who haven't gotten a chance to watch LPL this year, the expectations for BLG may still be high. They remember Bin's super carry top performances, Knight being the best LPL mid laner by a wide margin, and Elk plus On being the best bot duo in the world. Unfortunately, that's not what we were treated to so far, and BLG lost LPL finals for a reason. For starters, let's cover the elephant in the room, that being Shun's replacement on the team. While Shun played most of the important games for BLG at Worlds 2024, the team had played Wei for the entirety of playoffs and found great success with him. Shun ended up leaving the team and now plays for JDG. Similar to last split, BLG once again started the year having problems in the jungle. The roster was just not gelling properly with Wei, and they finished 4th in winter playoffs and another 4th in spring regular season. To counteract this, BLG took some relatively drastic measures and signed Beichuan, ThunderTalk's jungler, to play with them during playoffs. Beichuan is a middle-of-the-pack jungler in LPL, and you could realistically make the argument that he's maybe only the 6th or 7th best jungler in the league overall. However, the change BLG needed seemed to be to just get any jungler that wasn't named Wei, as the player swap worked wonders. For a moment, it almost looked like BLG was back to their former selves, with crisp 3-0s versus IG and number 1 seed Top Esports. After playoffs ended though, it's clear that this team still has some problems, so let's go over the players to talk about the specific strengths and weaknesses this team has. Bin is still considered the most important top laner to have in the LPL, and people still rally behind him and have high hopes for MSI, but this has probably been his weakest individual split in a long time, maybe even since 2021. Especially in regular season, Bin just did not look like himself at all, and didn't start picking it up again until Wei was replaced. In playoffs, excluding grand finals, he looked much better. His ability to pick carries and snowball leads seems to have returned, and there's hope that he'll be in form for MSI. Overall, he's still the same player he's always been. Great at carries, great at fighters, pocket Camille that can randomly stomp a game for no reason, you all know him at this point. Maybe he'll show up big time on the international stage, but I do have to make it clear that he's had a down split. Beichuan has been the jungler for ThunderTalk for years now, and as a longtime TT fan, due to first UCal and now 1xN, I've never really been impressed by him. I was surprised to see BLG pick him up, but he was a solid enough option to bandage the issues of the team and get them back to grand finals. Overall, I really don't think there's anything too notable about him. He plays most junglers at a serviceable level, about what you might expect from an 8th to 10th place or so LPL team. That said, he's only been in the league since 2022 summer, and ThunderTalk have looked slightly better every single split, so it's safe to say he's improving. He's also never been to an international tournament, and there are definitely players who step up big time on the big stage. Until we see him there, we won't know for sure. Maybe this will be his breakout tournament that lands him a longer contract on a bigger team. For now though, my expectations are pretty tempered. Their mid laner is Knight, the greatest Chinese mid laner of all time, and has been constantly in the conversation for best performing mid split after split. This split is no different, and he's been a bright spot amidst the chaos that was all the roster troubles. Even though BLG has star talent elsewhere, at the end of the day, this team lives or dies by how Knight is playing on the day. He's especially deadly on champions like Sylas, Ahri, and Akali, all 3 of which are playable at different stages in a fearless format. However, he still has yet to add any form of Azir to his champion pool, a criticism he's faced countless times in the past when Azir was meta. Despite his relatively strong year so far, Knight was most recently shot down pretty hard in LPL finals. AL made his life extremely difficult, leading to 4 disappointing games from the perceived best player in the LPL. Before that though, he had a pretty monstrous set of performances against IG, so who's to say exactly where he stands at the moment. At international tournaments, it feels like Knight vs Chovy has been a conversation that's come up many times, and the answer can sometimes change from year to year. In my opinion though, he's easily a step below Chovy this time around. The story of Elk this split is twofold. Before Beichuan joined, Elk was pretty disappointing. He was making errors in lane more frequently than should be expected from a player of his caliber, and he, along with Bin, were 2 big reasons why the team wasn't functioning properly at the start of spring. After Beichuan joined, everything changed, and it felt like a flip just switched in Elk's brain to become a better player again. It wasn't even that Beichuan was doing anything extra to help facilitate Elk literally just started playing better. Apart from grand finals, Elk had big performances in every single series, some series where he had an amazing performance in every single game. I think part of the reason for Elk's inconsistencies in the beginning part of the split is due to a poor meta read from BLG. Not necessarily that their meta read was wrong, but that Elk has some champions that he's elite on, and some that he's just not as good at. Specifically, I haven't been impressed by his hyper carries or his immobile picks. Jinx, Sivir, Varus, and Misfortune were all picks he struggled on, and it seems like BLG kept on trying to make it work anyway. Elk looks his best when he gets on champions that have more agency. Ezreal, Kalista, Kai'Sa, Xayah, and Lucian have been his bread and butter in the past, and it's no different now. He looks like a completely different player when you put him on a champion with mobility or self-peel tools. In fact, this is what BLG did for all of playoffs during their strong run, with most of their losses coming from games off of those champions. If you had to ask me who I thought BLG's most consistent member has been during this time period, I would say that without a doubt it's been On. Even though he was low-key getting griefed by Elk and Bin at points, he's definitely been the only player on the team that has remained elite for the entire course of Spring. He can play pretty much anything with a wide range of engage supports and lane dominant supports. He's also showcased creativity with his pool, winning games on Elise support and Shen support, two of the less popular picks globally. I actually think if anything, On's champion pool is big enough that it's been to the detriment of his team at times. With Elk performing much worse on certain champions, On's win rates on engage supports have been much lower. I don't blame him for continuing to pick Alistar, he's really good at Alistar. The problem is that Elk has not been good at champions that pair well with Alistar, so it ends up making the engaged draft strategy not work as well, even though On is good at it. Overall, BLG still has the ability to be great. In the series where they're firing on all cylinders, like their matchups against top esports and IG, the team looks like it can be just as good as they were in the past couple of years. However, with all the roster commotion, and the absolute takedown of BLG that was Grand Finals, I just can't shake the feeling that I can't actually trust this team to perform at MSI. They might perform, and I think that would be great. Seeing a peak form BLG face off against Gen G or T1 would be super entertaining to watch. However, I have my doubts. BLG's bot lane can really only seem to perform with certain strategies, such as Ezreal Karma or Kalista lanes, or strategies that rely on mid and top to carry. Elk is still elite for sure, but it definitely feels like they have to devote more resources to him to ensure he can be elite, and this comes at the detriment of Knight and Bin, who also demand resources to be effective in games. I really feel for Beichuan. It's an impossibly difficult situation to be dropped into for a player like that. On the one hand, he has a chance to win something for the first time in his career. On the other hand, every single set of eyes in China, and frankly around the world, will be set specifically on him. If he performs badly, or even if he performs well and BLG lose anyway, most of the blame will probably be thrown on him. That kind of pressure, combined with his skill level, make me find it hard to believe that he'll be able to play at his best. I would say that at the end of the day, that's just how I feel about BLG. Bin, Elk, and the jungle role as a whole have been inconsistent and shaky all split, so I view BLG as an inconsistent and shaky team. On paper, they should have been the favorites to beat AL, but they failed to beat AL both times, and they looked immeasurably worse the second time around. I think BLG should be expected to finish 4th. If they show up like they did at the start of playoffs, maybe they can fight for 2nd or 3rd. In fact, if Gen G's lack of practice with high pressure best of 5s, due to the shitty LCK playoffs format, ends up hurting them as much as I think it might, maybe an informed BLG could find a major upset and win it all. But with how they are, I don't think they can beat AL, and I don't think they can beat T1 either. And worst case scenario, if BLG end up looking like they did during their lowlights in regular season, they might even drop a series to a Western team. That's all I have for this one. Most people who have been following LoL esports even a little bit these past few years know who this team is and what they're capable of. I don't need to tell you all anything more than how their condition has been this split specifically. 6 teams down, 4 to go. I'll see you all next time. Bye!